let's bring in our expert of panelists and talk about what really spooked the markets today and really what is the journey forward going to be like. Bobby Parikh, Chief Mentor at BMR Advisors, Jehangir Aziz, Chief Economist at JP Morgan, Punita Kumar Sinha, Managing Partner at Pacific Paradigm Advisors, and Madhu Kela, Chief Investment Strategist at Reliance Capital, on board with us. Gentlemen and lady, good evening to you guys, and thanks really for taking time out and joining in. Punita, I want to start with you. Really, the question on everyone's mind is, fine, it wasn't a great budget, it wasn't really the dream budget that everyone was hoping for, but what spooked the markets?
I think a number of things spooked the market. I think I wouldn't call it spooked the markets as much as the fact that markets were disappointed, because obviously given the lead up to the budget, there was a lot of hype that this time around it's his last budget and for this term, and they're going to do something game changing. I would have liked to see more, tax reform. That hasn't happened, but everybody had different expectations, and I don't think any of the expectations have been met on many different counts, because a lot of measures have been done, but on very little amounts. So therefore, everybody was disappointed, and I think so. That's the first point, and the second point is that as Raghuram Rajan mentioned, that the Indian economy is now mature enough that it doesn't need a lot of government intervention to really trigger further growth in the economy. But that only time will tell, right? We cannot make that judgment today. We will be able to only make that judgment a year from now to see whether that indeed these measures that were implemented today will actually bring the growth that is needed. So today's announcements as a result didn't really reassure investors in any way, because we really cannot assess the effect of the measures that were announced today on the growth. All we can assess is that there is slight EPS cut, there is some concern on taxation and tax treaties, there is some boost towards equities, but not significant. So as a result, I think it's really a little premature to assess.
No game-changing idea like you were telling us in the day. No, the game-changing idea is
correct,
missing.
no game-changing idea.
Jehangir, this question is coming your way. Let me give you options. What do you want to start with, the budget arithmetic or the GDP number which came after the budget speech? The GDP number for the quarter gone by. Jehangir, oh my God, that's scary. Bond markets will react to those numbers tomorrow.
Look, let's start with the budget. I mean, what exactly were we expecting? I mean, we couldn't possibly be expecting the government to continue doing fiscal consolidation at the same time providing support to growth through capital expenditure, which is or tax incentives. There has to be some form of a trade-off between the two of them. If the government actually did go in with a dream budget by slashing taxes, providing massive, incentives for capital expenditure or for investment, then you couldn't possibly have provided 0.5% of GDP of fiscal consolidation. I mean, just to remind people that not too long back, month of August, we were fearing that, this fiscal year's fiscal deficit would be closer to 6% of GDP. It turned out to be 5.2% of GDP. And you really can't have both of them together. And, when people talk about it, the market expected, a dream budget, expected something more, you really have to step back and see what is it really at stake. Fiscal consolidation was really at stake. We really face a credible threat of an S&P downgrade. I think that has been staved off. And that has to come at some cost. And the cost is you really can't have these kinds of growth boosting measures that people were expecting. So again, like everybody else, I think the budget, I too believe that the budget missed quite a few low-hanging trees, a bunch of tricks that it could have actually done, which were pretty easy options to do. But overall, one has to realize that, look, this was always going to be a very difficult task.
Bobby, has the finance minister set cats amongst the pigeon by revisiting the Mauritius clause? Markets are nervous. Are they genuine about the concerns? Do you think markets should be concerned about the Mauritius route?
Well, it's I would say that it's not helpful the way that it's been expressed or clarified. And if it is really as benign as it is made out to be, then I would wish that it was things were a little more forthcoming. Because there is a circular which was issued many years back, which has been the basis of a Supreme Court judgment. It was challenged in the Supreme Court, and the circular essentially says that if you have a tax residence certificate, then that will also be treated as evidence of beneficial ownership. Now, by clarifying that the tax residence certificate, and therefore the position that has then prevailed has been that if you have this tax residence certificate, then that is the basic condition that you need to fulfill in order to get tax treaty relief.
So this is nothing new.
So this is not anything new, but it is now sort of picking an element without referring to that circular. It's picking an element and saying that fine, you might have this tax residence certificate, and that's a necessary condition, but it's not sufficient, and we will also need to look at beneficial ownership, which is something which that circular specifically clarified that it is implicit if you have this tax residence certificate in the context of Mauritius entities. So, by now saying that these are two separate conditions to be fulfilled, it raises the question whether that circular still remains good law and will continue to be followed by the revenue authorities. And the fact is that the revenue authorities, notwithstanding the Supreme Court judgment and notwithstanding the circular, have been denying Mauritius treaty relief to a number of investors, fortunately not to FIIs but to many strategic investors, on the grounds that those entities are really conduits and that the true beneficial owner of the investments is a US parent or a UK parent or whatever might be the sort of home jurisdiction of the MNC. So it now, so I don't know that it immediately causes concern for FIIs because for some reason the FIIs have not been subject to this uncertainty, but other investors have been. Whether the thing will now be that the government is actually backing that line of action. Right. And that line of thought, and so it's not so straightforward to say that it's just a mere clarification of a fact which has always been part of law, because if it were so, then why does it need to be clarified?
And why now?
Yeah. So what the finance minister also said is that this was something which was brought out last year and that this particular aspect was in the memorandum but not written into the budget, and so now all that he's doing is just bringing it into the main law, what was something that was inadvertently left in the notes. But it, so this is the basic issue.
Right, Madhu, I want to get you in on this as well. Maybe the market expected too much from the budget. What's your take? How have you reacted to the finance minister's speech? Are you disappointed or are you happy?
Yeah, I think I'm not disappointed because, as you rightly said, I've been in the market for 20 years, and I think the budget creates an excitement one week prior and 1 week later. So now I have learned it hard way. So I was not anyway expecting anything really out of the sync. My limited point is that, actually it could have been far worse. Let us just look at where were we as India, where were we as the markets 6 months back. Let us also consider that there is going to be an election. So it could have been a far more populist budget, but for this man. And I think he has broadly delivered the numbers. The numbers look very, very credible, and that is what the job of finance minister is, and that is what the job of the budget is. That, today no one is saying that this 4.8% looks like going to 6% or 5.5%. So by and large, the roadmap which is being indicated, it is credible, and all the broad numbers are in sync. As far as markets are concerned, anyway, I think from Monday morning, we will be out of this mega event of India, and markets will go back to what the FIs do, where the flows are, because local investors, anyway, whatever he would have done, that would not have got money like tomorrow morning. And what happens to earning calendar, which is from in April and June. So I think market broadly will be driven by those factors, and this could have been worst event of the budget. It has been out of the radar now.
Let me also bring on board Dharmesh Mehta, Managing Director of Institutional Equities with Axis Capital. Dharmesh, good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. Dharmesh, I know you got your ears close to the ground. So on the entire Mauritius tax issue, what are you picking up from your clients? What sound bites are you, or what feelers are you getting from them?
Well, obviously people are a little disappointed, saying that, you didn't need this confusion right now, especially in this kind of market conditions. I'm sure, Finance Minister has clarified his stand and what it will be. And as you know, in the start of the budget speech, he said that he wants more FI money coming into the market, and definitely he needs more transparency for that. I'm sure finally this will get resolved. But you didn't need this confusion at this given time in the market.
Have you got any calls from any of your clients after the budget? Dharmesh, what's happening? We need clarity. If you don't get clarity, we'll sell out.
Well, people don't act in a day or two. People will wait and talk to the consultants and then take a call. It's not as if tomorrow morning I need to get out.
So selling will come only after 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, once it's clear that whether this is going to harm them or not. If it is clarified, then they may not be worried about it at all.
Okay, Dharmesh, we'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll discuss exactly that, how harmful would that be, and whether or not we are going to see further pain for the markets. Be back with ET Now.